It's funny to watch a lot of these outlets struggle to realize, for some reason, why House of the Dragon is so much more popular than the Rings of Power. And it's like, well, it's not that hard to figure out. House of the Dragon is a well-written, competent show, whereas Rings of Power is a boring show with awful talent. Whereas in House of the Dragon, everyone is pretty damn talented. But when you compare the acting talent to House of the Dragon to Rings of Power, I mean, it really shows. Rings of Power centers around Galadriel, who is awful, unbearably awful. And people will try to, well, there's nobody to like on House of the Dragon either. Yes, there is. There's lots of people to like. Especially Matt Smith's character, who after the 6th part that just dropped on Sunday, I liked a lot more because, I mean, the guy had, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it yet. We will talk about it towards the end of the video because I'm going to use it to make a point. There probably is spoilers in this video, actually. So if you haven't seen episode 6, I would recommend you come back and watch the video after that. But the point here is that if you go online, everybody is talking about House of the Dragon. Nobody is talking about the Rings of Power unless it's to bash the Rings of Power, because the Rings of Power is an awful show. Deadline put this out. House of the Dragon, the female players have changed and the fans are filled with hate, but in a good way. And they're right. Why is it a good thing? Because people are talking about the show and they're interested in it. So there was a time jump in episode 6. 2 of the main female, actually a couple of the main characters have changed, not just the 2 new female characters. There's quite a few. Most of the younger characters from the previous 5 episodes have all become older. They had new actors. Basically, it's a new pilot. It really kind of is. They said this themselves in the behind the episode thing that came after the show. And the director said, I think he's the director, if not, he's like an executive producer or something, says, yeah, you know, it's basically like a second pilot because they changed everything. And a lot of people were saying, and they were right, if the show can survive this time jump, that means it'll be good going forward. And I think that that's true. This was a big test. Will people be interested in the show after all these characters change? And the answer is yes, because all over social media, particularly Twitter, everybody's talking about Alicent, and they don't like her now and all this stuff because she's basically doing a lot of behind-the-scenes maneuvering so that she can get her family in a position of power. But people on here are talking about her, but they're not dogging on the show. They're talking about the show while being hard on it in a this is funny. They're talking about it in a positive way, is the fact that they're talking about the show. They're having discussions. Oh, this character, I don't like what this character's doing. That's what you're supposed to do with a good show. This is what a good show does. It gets people to talk about it, talk about the characters. That's not happening really with Rings of Power. Nobody cares about it. Nobody cares about it. Now, I'm sure some people do. But it's just funny to see people put articles out like this. Like, how do you not know why this is so much? But you do know why. But the problem is they're trying to justify Rings of Power still. And they're trying their best to get people interested in it. Some people are also complaining. And what are they complaining about? Well, they're complaining about birth scenes. House of the Dragon's brutal birth obsession isn't realism. It's cruelty. And I say, first off, I wonder if this writer has any kids. Because even in today's modern conveniences for childbirth, it's still quite effing painful. Because you got to think about, like, literally women have epidurals done to take down a lot of the pain, and they're still in pain. It's still hard and it's still painful despite painkillers and all kinds of shit. Women are still in pain. So imagine what it was like before all these modern conveniences, especially back then in a time period like House of the Dragon. These women go through a lot of pain. And they show it. This scene, particularly her, she did a great job with that scene. It felt like she was in like extreme pain, the way she did things. And then there's also another scene, spoiler, where Lyanna Valerian, who's married to Damien, she gives another failed pregnancy. She has another failed pregnancy, and she kills herself at the end because she is sad, that the baby hasn't come. She feels awful. It's an awful thing. And they also had, of course, the sequence in the first episode, which was tough as well. These are scenes that work for these shows. Like, it just works. It's good Game of Thrones stuff. You would think like a feminist, and I'm going to say that this person probably does identify as one, would like this as a showcase to show how tough this is for women. But instead they're saying that, for example, I believe in this article or this one of them says that Game of Thrones should stick to the politicking. Yeah, here it is right here. It's a bit troubling to see House of the Dragon once again create a major dramatic and violent moment in the form of a failed pregnancy. This is a show about politicking and battles in a fantasy world. Maybe let's stick to politicking in battles. I think most people would rather see Larry's strong scheme in a way to consolidated power by cutting guys' tongues out 10 more times than the death of another child by birth. I think that this show does a pretty good job of making you feel uncomfortable with some things. And I think what they're doing, if they did it again this season, it would be overkill. But I think it worked to show like some progress with Damon. So, I like what they're doing. I'm not bitching about it. I just find it funny that this is triggering people and making them upset. Like, have you not watched this series before? And it's much better compared to the after-school special bullshit we get with Rings of Power. That show's awful. People are also mad, by the way, that some of the characters that swing certain ways are being taken out. They call it fridging. They're used to move the plot forward. So people are very upset about that as well. Triggered on social media. It's just funny to see. Oh, if you don't like it, maybe you shouldn't watch it. Maybe you just shouldn't watch it. You have a show you can go watch. You can go watch Rings of Power, a show literally almost about nothing. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Make sure to check out my locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here. None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications like YouTube. They'll definitely work over here. So come check out my locals.